His voice carried across the still air. "The enemy sniper has returned. He has already taken 3 of our men. I need 1 volunteer to take the counter position." The words hovered in the morning heat. The men shifted uneasily. Some stared at the ground. Others stared toward the distant ridge where the last shot had come from. Everyone remembered the sound of it. A single crack. A life gone before anyone could react. Seconds passed. No one stepped forward. The general waited. His jaw tightened. The tension spread through the yard like a slow tightening rope. Then a movement came from the back of the formation. Soft, almost unnoticed, an elderly man, small in stature, wearing a faded kitchen apron over a wrinkled uniform, stepped out of the shadows of the mess tent. His hair was silver. His hands carried the faint stains of a lifetime spent with pots and ladles, not rifles. The soldiers turned as if surprised that he was even there. The old cook walked forward at a measured pace. No tremble in his step, no hesitation in his eyes. "I will go," he said quietly. The yard froze. Someone muttered under his breath. Another scoffed. A few exchanged looks of disbelief. The general stared at him, not with respect, not with anger, but with something closer to confusion. Why would a 79-year-old cook volunteer for a mission that had already taken the lives of trained marksmen? The question settled heavily over the base, unanswered and unsettling. Like a shadow stretching across the sand, the young soldiers murmured among themselves, whispers like dry leaves in the morning wind. Some laughed quietly, trying to disguise the unease in their own chests. Others clenched their fists, frustrated that an elderly cook was daring to waste the general's time. Names of past failures floated through the air. Stories of missed shots, broken ranks, and quick judgments were shared in hushed tones. The general's eyes did not waver. He watched the old man with a measured silence, weighing something no one else could see. The cook stood perfectly still. His chest rose and fell with steady, deliberate breaths. His posture was straight, shoulders squared, back unyielding. A faint scar traced along his temple, almost hidden beneath silver hair. It caught the sunlight, like a silent testimony of battles fought long ago. When the general handed him a rifle for testing, the cook's hands moved naturally. No hesitation, no tremor. He checked the wind with a subtle tilt of his head, a flick of a finger. Movements so small they could be missed, yet they carried the authority of experience. The soldiers watching felt a prick of uncertainty. Something was not as it seemed. Then came the sharp report from the ridge. The enemy sniper had struck again. One of their own crumpled to the ground. The air filled with shouts, panic, and the pounding of hearts. Morale faltered, spreading like a shadow over the base. Yet the old cook remained calm, unshaken. He crouched over a map, tracing lines with the tip of a finger. He asked for binoculars, scanning the ridge with careful, deliberate movements. Reading the landscape as though it were a familiar book, he recognized small details no one else noticed. A rock formation that cast a deceptive shadow. The angle of the wind and how it shifted in the morning heat. The ridge itself, how it seemed to breathe with the desert, revealing hiding spots only an old soldier would understand. His voice, low and steady, pointed out the nuances of the terrain, hints of danger and opportunity woven into casual observations. The young soldiers listened, some reluctantly, some incredulously. Each word, each subtle gesture, planted the seeds of doubt. Perhaps this cook was more than he appeared, and yet the full truth remained hidden, locked behind the calm eyes of a man who had already faced death many times, and had survived to tell it silently. The cook crouched beside the map once more, tracing routes with deliberate precision. Every instruction he gave felt measured, too exact to be guesswork. The soldiers watched, their initial amusement fading into cautious attention. His plan accounted for every ridge, every gust of wind, every shadow that could betray a position. When he moved across the sand to inspect the vantage point, it was with a grace no one expected. Each step absorbed the terrain, each motion deliberate and efficient. He slid into position with the quiet authority of someone who had walked these dangerous lines before. His voice, when he spoke, carried a depth that demanded focus. His eyes sharpened, scanning the distance, reading the subtle language of the desert. Later, in a moment of stillness, he set down the map and lifted an old rifle. Hands steady, he cleaned it meticulously, each movement deliberate. The sound of cloth against metal and the faint click of a mechanism filled the silence. His breathing slowed, controlled, unhurried, as if every inhale and exhale were a practice in patience honed over decades. The soldiers exchanged uncertain glances. Laughter had disappeared. Whispers of mockery were replaced with suspicion and curiosity. Who was this man, really? A young soldier, unable to contain his wonder, finally asked, "Who were you?" The cook paused, resting the rifle across his knees. His gaze remained fixed on the distant ridge. "Someone who learned the hard way," he said quietly. The words hung in the air. No explanation, no bragging, only the quiet weight of experience, and the unspoken understanding that this man was not what he seemed. The subtle shift had begun. The laughter was gone. Respect, hesitant and cautious, had begun to take root. The ridge lay ahead, stark and jagged in the early light. The enemy sniper had taken position again, moving with the confidence of someone who believed themselves untouchable. The old cook, alone, began the climb. Each step was slow, deliberate. Dust swirled around his boots, carried by the rising wind. He moved with the patience of a man who had counted every step of 1,000 similar climbs before. Reaching a hidden outcrop, he lowered himself carefully. The spot was perfect. No one else had noticed it. He lay down, the coarse rock pressing against his chest. Hands steady, fingers brushing the rifle stock. Every breath measured, heartbeat slow. A soldier watching from below might have thought him frail, unfit for the task. They could not have been more wrong. Through the scope, the enemy sniper came into view, confident, unaware. A small bead of sweat traced his temple. The wind whispered over the ridge, carrying the faint sound of metal against fabric. The cook's eyes narrowed. Memories flashed across his mind. Deserts and mountains. Nights spent waiting in silence, the faint echo of distant gunfire. The weight of a rifle resting against his shoulder in a war long forgotten. Recognition hit the general below like a bolt. The face in front of him, weathered and lined, was someone he had once known. One of the most decorated long-range shooters of a conflict that had faded from public memory. The man had vanished after tragedy, choosing obscurity in the humble life of a cook. Yet here he was, every bit the soldier he had been, every skill intact. The cook exhaled slowly. A single, perfect shot. The crack of the rifle echoed across the ridge, sharp and final. Silence fell. Then, from the enemy position, the faint sound of collapse. Nothing more. The sniper would strike no more. Back at the base, soldiers rose instinctively. No laughter, no doubt. Helmets removed, eyes wide, awe in every glance. Young men who had questioned him hours before now looked upon him as a living legend. Respect, hard-earned and fully deserved, filled the air. The old cook stood among them, calm as ever, the quiet weight of a lifetime resting on his shoulders. The dust of the ridge settled, and the base slowly returned to its rhythm. The soldiers moved with a new quiet respect, their earlier tension replaced with awe. Yet the old cook did not linger in the praise or the recognition. He returned to the kitchen, his apron worn, hands still carrying the faint scent of herbs and oil. Moving as if nothing had changed, the general followed him quietly, stopping by the door. He placed a firm hand on the old man's shoulder, eyes steady. "Thank you," he said simply. No ceremony, no medals, just a recognition that ran deeper than words. The cook nodded, a faint smile touching the corners of his mouth. He turned back to the stove, lifting a ladle with the same care he had lifted his rifle hours before. His voice, calm and measured, carried across the empty kitchen. "Age does not take away purpose. Experience is a weight, yes, but it is also a guide. Never forget what those years have taught you." The soldiers, now standing silently outside, understood. Respect is not claimed by strength or youth. It is earned, slowly, through a lifetime of choices, courage, and quiet wisdom. The cook had shown them that honor outlasts fear, that true skill does not fade with age, and that some heroes are hidden in plain sight, waiting only for the right moment to remind the world of their legacy. In that quiet kitchen, the scent of stew mingled with the dust of the battlefield. A simple life, a humble man, yet a legend lived within him, and in that truth lay the lesson the soldiers would carry for the rest of their days. Never underestimate those who carry years behind their eyes.